we football. Flyer than a foosball, going harder than the balls. Inside a pool hall, AJ Cole, Ryan on some fantasy business. Living in that dream like they own their own team, man. They tell you how to win, but probably gonna lose if you get last place in the draft cause you snooze. It's really all luck, if your QB gets hurt, then you're fucked. Yeah, you're fucked. Now you own your buddy's money, plus your girlfriend hates you cause you can't see her on Sundays. Long days, long nights, figuring out your team. Still the next day you're listening to these idiots.
Hello and good football to all. This is the Shall We Football Podcast powered by Razzball. I'm Ryan, my co-host AJ. Colt has just left us and moved to Atlanta. He has not left the podcast. He will be back at some point. He
did leave this earth. God rest his soul.
Amen. He will be greatly missed until probably next week.
He was on one of Elon Musk's most recent trips to space, and he's going to come back and bring us some moon rocks that we'll show you guys, and they'll be edible, and it'll be great, and we'll eat those together. Yeah, and we're going to give them away in like a bunch of giveaways, and we're also going to give away, I think Ryan's donating like $1,000 to give away,
Yep.
I think.
Yep. Would you eat the moon if it were made of cheese?
Ribs.
It's a simple question, doctor. Yeah. Would you eat the moon if it were made of ribs? Coming up, we will be coping with week 1 and bracing for week 2. We'll also present the Mac Oracle Award for episode MVP, named for Mac Jones's middle name. Follow us on the artist formerly known as Twitter at SWF_podcast. Watch us on Razzball Fantasy on YouTube. Go to razzball.com to not suck at any fantasy sports no more, or you could not do that and continue to suck. AJ, shall we football? After 18 minutes and 22 seconds.
I kind of think I'm going to cut that whole thing out. I think it was really
will.
long-winded and it wasn't enjoyable or funny, and it was kind of shitty to relive, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, I'm
going to take this revisiting week 1. Wait. First, is Texas fucking back?
Texas is
Texas fucking back, baby? Is Texas fucking back, Ryan?
I do think Texas is back. They left a lot of points. I've got to
tell you, there is some green tea, old Diet Dr. Pepper, and some seltzer water in here. So that's what I'm sipping on.
Oh, the little suicide concoction that you used to do at the roller rink.
It's admittedly not very good, but it is the only liquid in the room right now.
Yeah, of course. So here is why we say Texas may or may not be back. They beat Alabama 34-24, and it wasn't particularly that close. AJ, did you get a chance to go back and watch any of this?
I did.
After your travails?
This reminded me of, first of all, I want to say I'm so excited we can do this because Dad's not here.
I know.
This feels a little,
scandalous,
a little naughty. You know what I mean?
Yeah. A little scandalous.
Well, first of all, Texas being back is definitely scandalous and and deliciously naughty.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like the whole college football world is doing something wrong together. Like we all have a secret that Texas is fucking back.
And you're just waiting for the whole thing to like topple down upon itself when they lose to Kansas State.
Yeah, but that's the thing about Texas being back is it's like the word fuck. It's so versatile and it means so many different things. Like Texas is back could mean that Texas is back, or it can mean the imminent demise of Texas, which would still mean Texas is back.
Texas is back, yes.
Yeah.
Can we go through the box score here, or at least the stat sheet here? We had first downs. Texas out first downed Alabama 23-18. Total yards 454 to 362 in favor of our beloved Longhorns. Yards per pass about equal. Alabama nudged them out there 9.4, but Jalen Milroe did throw two interceptions that were pretty ugly. And our dear delightful boy Quinn Ewers threw for 350 and 3 touchdowns. I believe, AJ, that we have to concede the point that Texas may actually be back.
Of course. I want to say this felt like, since I was at the Notre Dame game, this felt like the first 3 quarters of the Notre Dame game where Alabama was always, well, I'll speak in terms of Notre Dame. NC State was always within like I would say
Within
strike
earshot.
They were they were within more than earshot, right? They were threatening.
Yeah,
And at one point, Alabama did lead
they did
16-13 in the
16-13.
third quarter. So I would say that the Longhorns reminded me of the way Notre Dame was playing up until the end of the third quarter when Jalen Milroe completed like an almost 50-yard pass to Jermaine Burton.
Yeah, it was a beauty.
Beautiful. Yeah, it was gorgeous. It was amazing. Not even Tommy Reese can fuck up a deep ball thrower like that badly.
Yeah.
Because he had another one later on that brought Alabama with 11 minutes to go in the fourth quarter back to within three. But so I don't think this was controlled per se. And obviously, with the analogy I'm making, Notre Dame pulled away massively in the fourth quarter. But they were threatening throughout. And there was one lead, and then there was
the ball to A.D. Mitchell.
That was that was just after the lead was taken in the third quarter. Texas retook it and never surrendered it.
Yeah, the ball to A.D. Mitchell put him up 34-24. The camera angle.
Well, no. There were two balls to A.D. Mitchell. The last one is what put them up, but he also scored a 7-yard touchdown earlier.
Yeah. The long one is the one that put them up by 10 to finish it. And they ran the ball at the end of the game and did what they wanted to do and ran the clock out. They put their foot on Bama's throat, which is something that generally Alabama teams don't allow you to do. And Texas pretty much had their way with them. They looked like the better team the entire game, which is frightening.
They did. I'm a little hesitant to go overboard with sincerely. Obviously Texas is back, but obviously I'm not quite ready to go all in. The one thing that actually has me closest to getting there is the 5 sacks.
Yep.
And what is that, 9 TFLs?
Mm-hmm. Their defensive line looks really good. The sophomore kid, the sophomore kid from Austin. He wore a number in the 92 or 93, big white kid. He looked like an absolute animal. He was pushing the left tackler, the Proctor kid around. That Alabama offensive line.
Mind you, Caden Proctor is an 18-year-old child.
Right, he's a freshman.
Large child.
Yeah, he's a 360-pound freshman. That's another thing. I think this tells us more about where Alabama is right now than it tells us about where Texas is right now.
Yeah, I could get on board with that. Yeah. This is, if there are any Bama fans watching, whatever belief I'm telling you, Tommy Reese is gonna, I would say, break your heart, but I don't know that he ever had it to begin with to break. The only reason that Notre Dame fans were that he was endeared to Notre Dame fans is because he used to play for Notre Dame, and he was a 3-star quarterback that no one expected anything from. And when he did some things, we were so excited because we had just gotten loose of Charlie Weiss and Jimmy Clausen not living up to hype. And now we've got a quarterback that came out of nowhere, and he's pretty good.
Yep.
And that endeared Tommy Reese. And then his dad was also the director of scouting at Notre Dame. So there's a family affair in there. That's why he was beloved at Notre Dame.
It's not because he was good.
Well, there were a few things he did fairly well, and obviously Nick Saban saw something and liked it. But as someone who watched him week in, week out, yeah, of course we saw this coming. Of course we fucking saw this coming. I had a sliver of doubt because of the personnel, but I was like, as soon as there was issues with the quarterback room, even before he got there.
Yeah.
And then when Tyler Buckner came in, I was like, hey, listen, folks, he's never going to sniff the field unless Jalen Milrow throws
His
a
ass.
bazillion
Right.
interceptions, and he can't because he throws such a good deep ball and he's
Yep.
athletic. I don't think you can ever justify Tyler Buckner.
No, I don't think so either. But if you
Now
go
the
position group by
fans might
position
go.
group,
Yeah, listen, the fans are the only ones that I think could like riot enough to bring in Buckner, and then they would then quickly go back to Jalen Milrow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Go.
Yep, position group by position group. Quarterback, Texas had the better quarterback by a long shot. Running backs, probably neck and neck, right?
I would say wash. Yeah.
Yeah, probably a wash. Receiving core,
I
Texas
would
by a
say
lot.
running. I would say running game. You would eventually need to go with Alabama because of Jalen Milrow.
Jace McKellen's real good, and Jalen.
Well, yeah,
Milrow's-
it's the Jalen Milrow aspect
Yeah.
is what gets it there.
Yeah, 100%. Receiving core, Texas has the better
Texas.
receiving core by a lot.
Yeah, by a good margin.
Especially if you add in the tight end in that situation as well. Offensive line, probably a wash by the end of the season. Right now, probably Texas, right?
Yeah, or it could end, we could be ending the season with an excellent Texas offensive line, but
Good.
I don't know. It's an unknown for me. I know a lot of the Bama recruits at offensive line. Less familiar with Texas.
Yeah. If you go to the defensive side of the ball, outside of Dallas Turner, Texas probably has the better unit as a whole.
Yeah, well, they played better. I'll give you that.
They definitely played better.
They played better, so that's all we have to go off of.
Outside of Kool-Aid McKinstry, I think Texas's corners played better, and even McKinstry was just fine.
Yeah, they had. I mean, they were active. They had 5 passes defended. Defensed, I think is
Poor Tyrion Austin was his name, number 3. He had himself a rough day.
Yeah, there were a few 3rd-degree burns out on the field.
That was a tough day. Texas is just a better football team, and that was a really cool game to watch. And Alabama fans has something to be concerned about.
And it's not even that Quinn Ewers, they had the superior quarterback. The numbers significantly back up what Texas has on defense. I will tell you though, those numbers are buoyed a bit, and I think they're a little bit deceiving because you had Jalen Milrow back there, who's not very good.
He is,
and you had Tommy Rees calling plays, which are specifically Tommy Rees calls plays. One of his skills, we think it's a detriment because of what it causes his play calling, the patterns. He's hyper focused and really good at scheming to get one guy open. Jalen Milrow is the kind of guy that doesn't need one great option. He needs a lot of good options.
Yeah.
In a play call, not on a team. In a play call, he needs a lot of good options that he can choose from and that are easy reads.
Yep.
Tommy's offense might have easy reads. I'm not that in on it, but I will tell you this. Tommy, with all of his pre-snap motions, his goal is to isolate one guy. And if you're relying on Jalen Milrow to consistently get the ball to that one guy, because that's where you've put all of your play calling emphasis on for that one play, the odds of him doing that consistently are so slim.
Right.
Tommy Rees is just not a good mix with Jalen Milrow. It might be nobody. That might be the answer to who's a good mix with Milrow.
True. So let's look through Texas' schedule.
I'm thinking. Look, I think we've indulged long enough. I don't think we can go there. I want to go there with you.
We'll do that post pod.
Yeah, we'll do that. These poor people. Also, I'm definitely going to edit out the story I told earlier. I've been thinking about it and I hate it. So we're not going to be including that. I'm sorry you had to miss that. You won't. If we left it in, you wouldn't be sorry.
Yeah, we'll indulge you off.
Don't shoot an email. I'm not going to send the story to you. So we're going to revisit some of the week 1 demands we made of God, which was, a questionable aspect of the show.
It was.
Don't like to really bring religion in it, but we were frustrated and we really wanted answers.
It's a theology podcast.
Right. We do delve into some theology. So famous theologian Aaron Rodgers, our first demand was we wanted to know, true or false, Aaron Rodgers was the only missing piece for the Jets.
We still don't know.
We still don't know, and we probably won't know. So I'm about to launch into a diatribe here. So
do go.
yeah. Obviously, the point is moot, and to get in a little bit about the injury, it's torn Achilles. It's the injury right now. Cam Akers, it's not as bad for a quarterback because they rely less, especially at this point in his career, on athletic ability. It's pretty damning for skill position players or second level players on defense. There's just not much you can do after that. So ESPN reported Coach Robert Saleh declined to reveal a timetable, but indicated the Jets hope Rodgers will stay with the team during his rehab. Saleh disputes the injury being the end of the playoff hopes, and this is where I'm going to go with this. Per ESPN, Saleh says, "I don't know why people are trying to put an obituary under our team name. I know why," end quote. "I know why. Old punchy face Zach Wilson is handling your balls again, coach, because you named him the starter." So first, do we have any unique takes on Ayahuasca Aaron's Achilles ailment?
Unique, probably not. My watching.
I only want
game,
unique because this has been talked to death.
Sure, of course it has. The air was sucked out of that entire football game from the beginning, and it sucked. I desperately hope that's not the end for Aaron Rodgers.
I do too. I think we owe it to ourselves to say that. I really don't hope it's the end for Aaron Rodgers. It feels like, I don't know, if LeBron James went out this way, it would be so sad. With Tom Brady, he had won a Super Bowl the year before. It was 1 year of not being good. They still made the playoffs. I was fine with him going out like that. Not everyone needs to go out like Jerome Bettis or Peyton Manning.
To go out with it taken from you and not to be able to go out on your own terms, that sucks. Say what you will about Aaron Rodgers, and I don't agree with a lot of the bullshit that he does and that comes with him, but I do appreciate that he is his own dude. He is uniquely Aaron Rodgers, and I appreciate that about him. And I was having a conversation with a guy earlier this evening. He is one of the better game managers that we've ever seen in the National Football League. One of my favorite quarterback performances ever was Aaron Rodgers a couple of years ago against the Arizona Cardinals, the year they started like 11-1, and he had threw for like 178 yards, but he was in complete control of that football game. And they didn't necessarily slow down the Cardinals, but he didn't allow them to get the ball because he was so diligent in the way he managed that football game. It was one of the most beautiful pieces of quarterbacking that I've ever seen. And that's what sticks out to me. And that's what I want to see again. And I think we're going to. I don't think he's going to allow this to be the end.
He was Patrick Mahomes for a time.
Yeah.
I actually don't think he's as good as Patrick Mahomes.
Agreed. But he's not as physically gifted.
But he was physically gifted.
Yes.
Especially his ability to move around. And you know what? Even outside the pocket, I'd say he could kind of give Pat Mahomes a run for his money.
He could boogie a little bit.
Yeah, and his ability to scramble. He could.
Mm-hmm.
This is stuff that the Aaron Rodgers, that towel has been wrung out as much as it's going to be, and we have no new takes on this. I'll give you this, though.
I do have some questions about what do you think the Jets, do you think they can be competitive
it's funny.
with Zach Wilson?
It is, geez, Ryan, it's so funny you would say that. So now what are the prospects for the Jets going forward? I'm going to give you a little bit of Zach Wilson information from the last game. Kind of a detailed dive. This is Zach Wilson's drive summaries. So the first one started at the Jets 33. He took over for Aaron. 2nd and 20, throws a 7-yarder, a 6-yarder, and they punt. Next one, Jets 22. He had a great 3rd and 11 conversion of 22-yard pass. Sacked on the subsequent 3rd and 9, 6-play, 10-yard drive. Next one started from the Jets 4. This was buoyed by the 83-yard run from Breece Hall to inside the Bills' 10-yard line.
Who looks all the way back.
He looks all the fucking way back. Zach Wilson then threw an incomplete pass on 3rd and 5 from the Bills' 8, kicked a field goal, 5 plays, 88 yards. But that was pretty much 4 plays went for 5 yards. Then the Jets started at their own 26. Wilson threw an interception for after 3 plays and 12 yards. Next one, Jets at their own 25, right at a halftime. Big 3rd and 10 conversion, 12-yard pass, big Breece Hall play, and incomplete with 2 offensive penalties on 3rd and 13 from the Buff 25. Kicked a field goal, 12 plays, 50 yards. Then we've got them starting. This is the second half now. The Jets 20. Cook makes a play on a 15-yard pass. 3rd and 12. Short throw for 6 yards plus another offensive penalty. Punt for 4 plays, 19 yards. Then a 3 and out from their own 25 and a punt. Then they start at their own 43 off of a Josh Allen interception, 2 3rd down conversions passing, a 6-yard scramble inside the 10, touchdown pass. He was 3 for 3 with 41 yards. And from 13-6 Bills lead to a 13-13 tie with 4 minutes, 55 seconds left in the fourth. So there was some pressure on old Zachy.
Sure.
4-minute, 48-second drive, 8 plays, 57 yards. Then they start off of a Bills fumble at the Bills 27-yard line. It was mostly runs, 8 plays, 15 yards, kicked a field goal. Now they lead. Buffalo would later tie, and then you had the punt return touchdown in overtime. Wilson scored on 4 of 9 drives, hit 66% of his passes, 140 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 2 sacks, 6.7 yards per attempt, and a 22.6 QBR.
Yep.
So here's what that means. He is what he is. You could blame a good Buffalo defense, and Zach's completion percentage was higher than normal, but literally his stats basically line directly up with his career averages. The Jets are fucking done unless the QB position is improved. They are absolutely dead in the water.
Yep, I agree. But what do they do? That's the question. Is like, do they? If Aaron Rodgers, and then something came out a couple of minutes before the show, Aaron Rodgers has told the Jets that he plans to be around the team and plans to be on the sideline and help Zach Wilson and yada, 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 whatever. Is that enough to guide Zach Wilson, go get a veteran backup, or do you go try to find a guy who might be able to give you a little bit of a spark?
Call Phillip Rivers, call Matt Ryan.
You don't want Carson Wentz, Nick Foles, maybe. You know who who came to mind and who had a really nice preseason with the Cowboys? It's Will Grier. That dude is not scared. He's not scared.
No, I don't think fear is his problem.
Zach Wilson's scared. Zach
Wilson is a bad quarterback. For whatever reason, he's an ineffective quarterback.
Yeah, he's bad. I'd go get Will Grier. And I know that's very West Virginia homer of me, but his last preseason game with Dallas, he was an absolute monster. And I know it's the preseason and whatever, but who the fuck else is out there? Nobody.
If I were them and I really wanted to salvage this season, I would go out and find, and I cannot think of who it would be off the top of my head, but I would trade not insignificant draft capital for the best backup quarterback that they could find.
Jameis Winston.
And possibly trade Zach Wilson in the process.
Jameis Winston is out there.
Andy Dalton would be another one.
Yeah, Andy Dalton would be a great option.
That's what I would do if I were the Jets, if I were one man being an entire organization. I would try to find the best backup quarterback that I could. I would not go the route of getting like a rental, I don't know, trying to rent Kirk Cousins or something. Like, I know you can't do that with him and his contract, but you can. Well, actually, I don't know if he's expiring. Either way, that kind of thing where you rent a quarterback, not on Aaron's level, but someone better than the best backup quarterback in the NFL, and you try to get to the Super Bowl for a year. I don't think that I don't think that overlap
No, I
exists.
don't think the Super Bowl happens anymore. I don't think that can be a goal anymore. Nathaniel Hackett, that offense was going to be predicated on getting into a formation and then Aaron Rodgers checking everything and calling plays at the line of scrimmage. There's nobody out there that can do that. But I think they're toast. They're fucking toast.
Yep, I'm kind of there with you.
And that sucks because that defense is so good.
It is. It really is. And these are kind of things, if we did the same bullshit we did last week with demanding answers from week 2, one of those things would be how good is, for me, and this might not be one of those pressing things, but I would be interested to see, how good is the Bills defense this year? Von Miller not playing.
Matt Milano looks like a monster.
Matt Milano is a monster.
That's true.
Matt Milano is a monster. Yeah, Tre'Davious White got hurt. Micah Hyde also, but I think Micah Hyde is fine, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that Bills defense is pretty okay. It's tough to say against what the Jets were last night.
I don't think that I'm sorry, Jets fans. I don't think there's a chance in hell that
no,
this season can be salvaged unless they do something way out of the box. I don't see it. All right, Tua Tagovailoa picks up where he left off. So last week, we kind of went through before the show and we gave our answers for each of the true false questions, the demands we made of week 1 to give us answers. So for this one, I said no. Colt said yes, and you said no, Ryan. Tua would not pick up where he left off. Tua picked up where he left off and then some. I will tell you this. I had a little preamble before I gave my answer because I said, even if Tua isn't back, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill didn't go anywhere. If you want to say they did, we'll then consider them so back. Consider them Texas type back.
I love being wrong like this.
For this one, I understand what you're talking about. I'll tell you this. This is what we were talking about beforehand. This is why I wanted to highlight this. Right. So, that Tyreek Hill had a massive game.
Yes.
He had like 200 some odd yards.
215.
He was tied for 5th after this week in yards after catch with 46. Now, you can attribute a lot of that to just volume. Jalen Waddle had 38 yards after the catch, which was good enough for 9th. And this is not average. This is just amount.
It's total. Yeah.
So Tyreek Hill's average was low because he caught 11 passes on 15 targets. Jalen Waddle, I think he had like 4 catches. So you're looking at like, I don't know, almost 10 yards a pop after the catch. Yeah. That's what I was expecting because Tua went from being what I thought was a massive bust. And then they brought on Tyreek Hill to go with Jalen Waddle. And all of a sudden, Tua is a franchise quarterback. That part's not going to change. What I thought, and this is where I was wrong, is that Tua, I don't think the guy's tougher than people give him credit for. I don't think he was going to struggle mentally to come back to a place where he could be, an outstanding quarterback. But I did think that this would have taken the sort of edge that it takes to make the throws that don't rely on Hill and Waddle doing Hill and Waddle things after the catch.
Tyreek Hill not having a ton of yards after catch is indicative of Tua throwing with timing and anticipation into spots.
I understand. But Tyreek Hill still had the 5th most.
Well, that's on 10.
Yards
That's
after the
on
catch.
10 catches too. So
Sure.
11
That's
catches.
I mean, if we're talking about volume, that's still like a
Yeah.
quarter of his yards basically came from Yak.
If you look at the totality of that game, though, is Tua is getting rid of the ball on time with anticipation and throwing Tyreek into a spot, and it is really, really cool to watch.
I get it. So this is another one where I need to see this for another week. Now they went against the Chargers, who, albeit, still picking up lifeless players off of the field. That's probably in poor taste, but like, you know what I mean? They're notorious for just, for half of the team ending up injured on injured lists and reserves.
J.C. Jackson lost them that game.
But he played.
He did.
And they countered. The Dolphins countered everything that the Chargers threw at them. It was a great game.
It was a fabulous game to watch.
I didn't actually end up watching it. I watched as much as I could of the highlights, and I looked at the play-by-play chart, and I mean, you just have to look at the score to know it was really good.
Yeah.
And the fact that Herbert and especially Tua, obviously, went off.
Yeah, it was a really good game. The Chargers are lost on defense, like absolutely fucking lost. And if I were in that organization, you have to start thinking about Brandon Staley's job, because that is supposed to be his side of the football, and they are fucking lost.
So I don't look at it as, I agree with you, but I think it's less so that it's his side of the football, because you know how Deion Sanders is doing so well right now. Well, Deion Sanders is a defensive guy. He played little offense, famously, but he's a defensive guy. Their defense is not good. Their offense
Deion Sanders
is
is a master motivator.
That's what he is. He's a CEO. And
but
if
Brandon Staley was hired there because of his defense in LA.
Yeah, but
it's a different game in the NFL.
I'm saying he's still more CEO and bad at it.
Real bad
at it. And he probably has some degree of autonomy on a day-to-day basis. Obviously, he could take it back at any time. But like,
I thought you were about to say
sure,
autism, and that was going to be a lot.
No, we can't do that. No, that'll be problematic. But I think that this is more. I think it's less to do with whatever the fuck his specialty was, with just that they do less with more than most.
Yep, and that's not okay. And it's been consistently that on the defensive side of the ball.
It has. They have some glaring weaknesses, especially in the front three. And obviously, Joey Bosa has had difficulty staying healthy, and they haven't gotten quite what they wanted to from the inside linebackers, despite spending some first-round draft capital there. And obviously, they had tons of injuries in the secondary last year, but they were healthy.
Yeah, they were healthy. J.C. Jackson had a beautiful interception in the end zone that he decided like a dumb shit to try to run out, and got tackled at like the 7 and left them on a super long field that turned into nothing instead of taking a touchback. And then at the end of the half, it was a Hail Mary ball, and he just decides before the ball gets there 3 seconds early to just go shove the shit out of a wide receiver and give the Dolphins the ball at the 35 for a field goal to score right before the half. He lost the Chargers the football game.
I mean, yeah, I think it's a little bit of an exaggeration, but point taken.
Just dumb.
Kenneth Murray, one of their inside linebackers. And I don't know if he played enough where this is concerning, but 3 tackles, 2 solo for an inside linebacker, which I think they still play a 3-4.
They do. And an inside linebacker that looks like he's an all-world off the bus guy.
Sure. Yeah.
Looks great.
We've said this time and time again. Obviously, Ryan has a lot of, still connections to.
But if you just
Oklahoma
look at him on the
Sooners
field,
program.
he looks like Keith Bullock.
He does. And what I'm saying is we've said time and time again, he stood out in college. He stands out when you look at him. But 3, and again, I don't know what his snap count was. Maybe there's something to reflect this, and this is why this looks the way it does. Eric Kendricks had more than double what he had. Alohi Gilman led the team in tackles with 11 and 9 solo. They only had 3 TFLs, and they did not come from all the usual suspects except Derwin James. Khalil Mack had nothing. Joey Bosa had nothing.
Yep. I just don't understand. I do not understand.
I'm a little bit disappointed with the Dolphins defense.
I think with Vic Fangio, I think it's kind of a pick your spot kind of defense, and they picked their spots really well.
Well, they also gave up 234 yards on the ground.
They did. They gave up a ton of rushing yards. But they picked their spots, and when they needed to bow up at the end, they did.
Right. I do have a fair amount of concerns with 5.9 yards carry.
Sure.
That is of great concern.
Sure.
And with Christian Wilkins in the middle, and then, the developing Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb now there. Like, this isn't the problem that Jalen Ramsey would have solved.
No. It is not.
This could also mean, maybe, that the Chargers offensive line will prove to be that good. Because they have the potential. There's draft capital on there, and Rashawn Slater is a dude.
And so is Zion Williamson, and they have
Zion Williamson still needs to prove some shit, but Corey Linsley, before he got hurt, was probably top 3 center.
Yep.
In the NFL. I think we've beat this one to death. What do you think?
Yep, I agree. But
yeah, go ahead.
I'm excited to see what the Chargers offense does, and just mortified to watch the Chargers defense.
So, speaking of mortified, Kenny Pickett and I guess the Steelers still suck. I was the only one that said yes to this.
You are correct.
And yeah, they still suck a whole bunch.
This is one where I wish you were wrong.
Yeah, I wish I was wrong too, but I never had the hope to be disappointed. I started to build it a little bit, but I was influenced. Like, people kept telling me, especially Steeler fans, they were like, team looks good. Kenny Pickett's going to do okay. And then you guys were like, we don't think Kenny Pickett still sucks. Kenny Pickett still fucking sucks.
He's still not great. That is one of the better defenses in football. They were the best statistical defense in football last year. One of the more talented teams overall in football in the 49ers. So it's a tough opener.
It is. And I will say this. Kenny Pickett was 31 of 46.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a good percent. It's a good.
We
clip.
are dinking and dunking though.
But we sure are dinking and fucking dunking. my man, are we dinking and dunking?
Yep.
I don't know if that's Kenny Pickett or if that's Matt Canada. I think it's Matt Canada. I feel like Matt Canada was like, what did we do with Ben? Shit.
And they just forgot that, like, the area beyond 5 yards exists.
Well, maybe the other thing is, and I think this is more Matt Canada than Kenny Pickett, and I don't think Kenny Pickett's very good. But I think Kenny Pickett there is a good to fair chance that Kenny Pickett cannot throw the ball past 5 to 10 yards. God, 31 passes for 232 yards.
Yep. 5 yards per completion.
Mother of mercy. And that's completion. That's not the one that's generally
Right.
tracked.
That's
The
not
one
the
that's
per
generally
attempt.
tracked is yards per attempt. And that is way worse.
It is substantially worse, yes.
He also threw 2 picks and was sacked 5 times, which that isn't all his fault. But I will tell you this. I went to here in Raleigh, my dad and I went to a Steeler bar. And we got there and the score was already not great. We ended up leaving at halftime. A, we were done eating, and B, it wasn't fun at all because it didn't look like 2 NFL teams.
It looked like one NFL team against
And then
college
something
all-star
else.
team.
Maybe, I don't know. It just looked like a different brand of football was being played by each team. And it didn't matter that TJ Watt ate.
He did. Had himself a big day. 3 sacks, right?
I don't know what's
big
wrong.
day. The AFC North generally underwhelming outside of the Browns. That brings us to our next point.
So I guess you're done with the Steelers. Yeah.
I'm done. Yeah.
Oh, good, because I am too.
Yeah.
The Ravens offense is better than last year. I've got some numeros here. I said yes. Colt said yes. Ryan said no, and the answer is no. This is 2022 Lamar Game 1 versus the Jets, who had a much better defense than the Houston Texans, who they played Game 1 this year. Last year, Lamar, 17 of 30 for 213, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 2 sacks, a 24.1 bad throw percentage. Thank you, Pro Football Focus. Pressured on 11.8%. He had to scramble twice. Yards after catch per completion around 4. His intended air yards, though, 12. 12 intended air yards per toss, per attempt.
Pretty good.
And I want to emphasize that. QBR 75.6. I want to emphasize that.
Real good.
And I also want to emphasize the bad throw percentage of 24.1. And he rushed 6 times for 17 yards. Let's talk about 2023. Let's talk about 2023 Lamar, Game 1 versus the Texans. This is the Texans. He was 17 of 22 for 169. Nice. That's a much better completion percentage. A much better completion percentage for a lot less yards.
Yep.
He had the same amount of completions, and what is that? 44 less yards.
Yep.
He had no touchdowns, 1 pick, 2 fumbles, 1 lost, 4 sacks. His bad throw percentage, 0.
Oh, all good.
0.
Throw.
Yeah. Pressure rate, 12.9, a little bit more. Scrambled 5 times. Yak, roughly the same per completion, 4.3. His intended air yards per attempt, 5.1. His QBR, 13.6.
Yep.
That's the difference. And Ryan, this I think is to your point. This is a Todd Monken problem.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That is, he got very used to just being better than the other team.
Now, I will say this. There is a chance Todd Monken adapts to this. There is a chance. 100%. But I will say your fear of Todd Monken neutering this offense a little bit came true Game 1. God.
And it's a small sample size, and I would love to be wrong about this and at the end of the season. I would
love for you to be right. I'm huge on you being right about this.
Yeah, I fucking hate the Ravens. I just didn't want to say it out loud.
Let's say it out loud.
I fucking hate the Ravens. I hope I'm right too. But Lamar Jackson.
I'll tell you this. This is like people say about the blue blood programs in college football. I do like it when the Ravens are competitive. A sad Ravens team is a sad AJ. Agreed. I do want them to not do well, But like, I think the league is actually better when the Ravens are good at football.
Yeah, I agree. They play a really good bad guy ever since
They
the
do.
Brian Billick teams and Ray
Mhm.
Lewis, and they play a really good bad guy.
Yeah, agreed.
I would love for them to stink out loud, just for my personal feelings. I don't know. That's kind of what I expected. It's really very much what I expected.
Okay, let's move this little
Yeah.
bitch along. The Colts will need to go back to the well in a couple years for another quarterback. Ryan, I have a confession to make. I have no fucking idea. I
Me
said
neither.
no. You said no. Colts said yes. No, I'm sorry. Flip that. Colts said no. We said yes. They'll need to go back
Yeah.
to the well. I don't know if we were given enough information for this. I'm also stalling to load Gamecast because I didn't give two shits about this game.
I know that Anthony Richardson was very much fine in this game. I know he was very much fine. I don't think he was anything spectacular, but we also didn't expect him to be spectacular in this game.
Colt kind of did a little bit.
24 of 37, 223, had 40 rushing
Yeah.
yards and a touchdown on the ground. His QBR was 23.4.
I'd say for facing what I believe is an extremely loaded Jaguars team, but defense in particular. Hey, they hung with them the whole time. They had the lead at the end of the third quarter.
Yep.
Now, this might speak a little more to the Colts as a team, that their defense might be a little better than we thought, because they held Jacksonville to 17 points through three quarters, and they gave up 2 in the fourth quarter, 2 tutters, and that's what led to 31-21. But and part of that was DeForest Buckner, a 26-yard fumble recovery and return
on a weird fluky play.
Yeah. But look, this was a much better showing from the Colts.
Yes.
Than I thought. But Anthony Richardson, I'll say this. This doesn't change that I think they'll have to go back to the well, but this doesn't move me any further toward them needing to go back to the well.
I don't think
this doesn't make it any worse.
No, I don't think this is a question that we can answer until after. We could probably make a guess mid-season, probably week 7 or 8.
I'm sure. I'm still going to hold by. I don't think that Anthony Richardson is the answer. This was not a good start for our assumption, though, because then you have to take into account the fact that Michael Pittman is really the only viable option.
Correct.
On that team.
They have no running back. Michael Pittman,
maybe
Alex Pierce.
Any skill position. It's just nothing. Michael Pittman.
Yep. And so we'll see. We'll see. I still side with you. We'll probably be back drafting quarterbacks here soon. All right. Denver, Sean Payton hype, real. They lost to an inferior football team. We thought was an inferior football team.
I did not see what Russell Wilson ended up with. And frankly, I didn't care that much, but everyone seemed so gung-ho about finding the answer to this question. And we wanted questions that we didn't all agree on.
He was efficient. He was very efficient. 27 of 34, 177, 5 yards per completion.
That seems super familiar to what's his name? Kenny fucking Pickett.
Except his QBR was 74.7.
That is good. That could very well mean that even though the passing game was somewhat neutered, I'll say again, he hit passes that he needed to move the ball. I don't know what the what the time of possession was for these two. Yeah, the Broncos, this makes sense. The Broncos, 32 minutes, 8 seconds. The Raiders, 27 minutes, 52 seconds. So, yeah, I think that while Kenny Pickett, his tiny throws would, stall and eventually kill drives, it looks like Russell Wilson may have ended up, the kind of the not quite as prolific, but the Derek Carr and Raiders phenomenon of the past few years, minus last year, where you look at his numbers and you're like, how are they winning games? How
Yeah.
are they getting the ball down the fucking field?
Mhm.
And it's a lot of third down percentages and red zone percentages and getting by the skin of their teeth. It looks like Russell Wilson was just not able to, and this was a 1-point game.
Yeah.
Also, the Raiders stink, I think.
We do think they stink, yes. Even on time of possession, more or less, even on total yards, the Broncos didn't turn the ball over. Jimmy Garoppolo was 20 of 26, a little bit better on yards per pass.
That's efficient right there.
Yeah, super efficient, 200 yards. Both of these teams look like they're going to struggle when they play decent competition.
Also, I mean, look, if you're the Raiders, good God, Josh Jacobs, 19 carries for 48 yards. Jesus Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
It's no good.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, Ryan and I said no on the Sean Payton hype. Colt said yes. Let's go to Jordan Love. Jordan Love was worth the wait. Me and Colt said yes. You said no. Probs.
That was wrong.
He was probably worth the wait.
That was wrong.
Why
I
were
really
you
enjoy
wrong?
being wrong. When it's things like this, I enjoy being wrong. Jordan Love was magnificent. He was absolutely magnificent. 15 of 27. Yeah, his completion percentage wasn't great, but he completed passes for 9 yards pop. His QBR was good, 73.3. Aaron Jones was fabulous in this game, both rushing and receiving. They were playing the Bears. Yeah, then he got hurt. They were playing the Bears, which they showed why they had the number 1 overall draft pick last year before they traded it away. They still stink. Was Justin Fields one of our things? No, he wasn't.
No, he was not one of our things.
Oh man, he made.
I don't know that would have been like. I actually think all three of us would have agreed that Justin Fields isn't the answer. I think even Colt would have agreed.
Man, Justin Fields is real bad.
Yeah,
he is real bad.
So the only reason that I thought just Jordan Love was worth the wait is that the Packers have had great quarterback play for the past almost 30 years.
32 years.
32 years.
Yeah.
There's an expectation in Green Bay that at least the quarterback play is elite. So if Jordan Love wasn't the answer, they had, 3 years now to come up with a contingency plan, and they never did.
No, they stuck to it.
That's what told me, because they didn't hit the panic button,
they believed in the kid.
This was their guy.
Yep, they believed in the kid.
And yeah, this could get worse.
And he's going to have some really bad games.
Yeah.
He's going to have some games where you're like, oh boy, maybe not.
Oh, geez.
But that's what he was at. Was he Nevada or he was Utah State?
Utah State.
That's what he was in college, too, as an Aggie. He had some games where he wasn't it.
Yeah, he was boomer bust. And this is one of those games where if you look at the yards per completion versus yards per attempt, that will tell the story. His yards per attempt was nowhere near as good as his yards per completion. Because he was just a little smidge over 50%. That is not sustainable if you want to
No.
be an NFL quarterback. But he had 15 completions for 245 yards. That's a good clip.
Yeah.
It's a pretty
Yeah.
good clip.
When he completed balls, he completed nice balls.
All right, let's talk about this real quick here. Hey Ryan, why do Joey's holes stinks? Why did Joey's hole lay an egg last week? Nope. What's wrong with Joey's Burrow? Nope. Okay, why Joe Burrow bad?
Joe Burrow bad because Joe Burrow missed a month and a half of camp with a calf strain, and the weather was terrible.
Okay.
If you remember last year, he threw 4 picks in week 1 against the Steelers and still finished the year with almost 4,500 yards, 35 touchdowns, 12 picks. Joe Burrow's going to be fine. I'm not concerned about the Bengals right now. Not yet.
No, I'm not either. I'm also not convinced of the Browns because of this game.
No, me neither.
No, I'm not convinced of the Browns. I do see that old douchebag Watson does still have the legs.
He can wiggle.
He can still wiggle. Gross.
He also wiggles. He
Gross.
wiggles things.
Stop
Yep.
it.
Okay.
End that one. Number 2, because we're in agreement there. Dad, why were the Cowboys so mean to the Giants?
Oh, they really did just stomp their goofy asses
They
into the very
stomped
damn
their
turf.
Deshaun Watsons right into the turf.
And right into that new MetLife Stadium turf that killed Aaron Rodgers the next day.
Oh boy.
I had the Cowboys in 2 of my fantasy leagues because I expected them to get, turnovers and, be a very productive defense for me. Good God, I didn't expect that. Holy shit.
Yeah,
That
that's
secondary is frightening. Micah Parsons and company in the front 4 is frightening. That is a serious defensive squad. Dan Quinn has some talent.
shout out to at Dave Fantasy for letting us know that pronunciation game alum, former first-round draft pick by the Miami Dolphins out of Auburn, Noah
Igbenogany, yes,
returned a blocked field goal for a tutter, and then
yes,
Brandon Aubrey promptly missed the extra point.
Yes, he did. Poor Brandon Aubrey.
Yeah, well, then he came back, kicked a 21-yard field goal, a 38-yard field goal, and then 4 more extra points because they scored 40 points and the Giants didn't score any.
Yep.
I saw this coming, not quite to this degree, but I thought the Giants were bad at football.
I think the regression to the mean. So the regression bug got a couple of teams already this year, and kind of poking its head out there. The Vikings got the regression bug. The Giants got the regression bug. The Vikings last year win that 1-score game. They obviously did not.
Yeah.
The Giants did more with less last year. This year, I don't think they're going to be able to do more with what they have because they looked fucking terrible.
Yeah. Yes, they did. Yeah, they did. I was thinking, hey, listen, maybe accounting for the average play of the Cowboys offense was the disruption by the New York Giants defense. They had 2 tackles for loss. And to give you a little perspective, the Cowboys had 7 sacks and 10 tackles for loss. That's what was going on in their neck of the woods.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's like a ton. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a whole bunch. And only one of those was Micah Parsons. 1 sack, 1 TFL.
Yeah.
There was plenty of good eating to go around.
Yeah, there was some wrecking to be had on that Cowboys defense. And what's his nuts? The corner with the 3 picks. triggered a season-long incentive in week 1. $250,000 if he got 3 picks over the course of the season. Knocked it all out in week 1. Good for him.
You saying 3 interceptions?
3 picks, yeah.
I think you might be thinking of someone else. My man.
Cowboys?
Nope. You might be thinking of someone else. There were only 2 picks by the Cowboys. One was Bland, one was Gilmore. But Bland did return.
Nope. I was thinking about the
for a
Jets guy.
touchdown.
It was Jordan Whitehead.
Yeah. Yep. Pittsburgh's own University of Pitt alum.
Jordan Whitehead.
So let's do this one real quick. The Rams, are they good? And this is just for you. I'll abstain.
Maybe. They may actually be good. With a
Please
healthy
don't leave it
Matthew
there.
Stafford, they may actually be good. He threw for 334.
What the
didn't throw a
fuck, Tutu Atwell?
And Puka Nacua, buddy.
Puka Nacua is a baller, my man.
He is a baller. He just missed last season at BYU with injury. Tutu Atwell, they finally made him a thing in his 3rd year in the league, which is awesome for him. As long as Matt
Kyren
Stafford,
Williams, how about that? A little Kyren Williams.
Did you see the video clip of Geno Smith mic'd up as Aaron Donald comes tearing up the middle of the line and he just goes, "Oh my God," and throws it in the dirt?
I haven't seen it. I need to see it. I've been told to watch it.
It's tremendous. I'll find it. I'll send it to you. If you haven't seen it as our fair listener, go find it. It's fabulous.
I'll say
Rams
this
might be sneaky good.
Well, the Seahawks lost both offensive tackles in the game. They dealt with some questionable activities by some of extracurricular activities by some of their players during the game. They also were without Jamal Adams and Devin Witherspoon.
Yes.
So they have help on the way.
Coming.
This is less so about the Seahawks, and this is why I put, are the Rams good, with no note about the Seahawks.
Yeah,
because,
Seahawks will be fine.
Well, I think the Seahawks will be closer to average than we thought. But yeah, I could see that. I mean, they may still bounce back to where we thought they would be.
Yeah,
this is more about the Rams, because it was 13-7 at halftime, and then they scored 23 unanswered.
A healthy Matty snapback will do that for you.
This is also without Cooper Kupp.
I know. with Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua.
I think Puka Nacua is about to become a thing. Also, I think Tutu Atwell, if they keep using him the way clearly he was meant to be used, we might have another thing. Okay. I'm going to go through some notable injuries here. I may never do this again because this was a lot of work to get together. So the Seahawks signed Jason Peters, offensive tackle. Questionable is Abe Lucas, offensive tackle, no knee damage, questionable for week 2. Seattle offensive tackle Chuck Cross, turf toe, week to week, questionable. Adams is off pup, questionable. They're going to ease him back. Witherspoon, questionable, out since 8-7, no week 1, chance for week 2. Carolina, cornerback J.C. Horn, hammy, multiple weeks, missed 18 games in the first 2 seasons. Pittsburgh, Cam Hayward, groin, going to miss several weeks. Deontay Johnson, hammy, a few weeks. Pat Fryermuth, questionable, chest. They're pretty optimistic. The Chiefs signed Chris Jones to a 1-year deal, potentially worth over $20 million. Kelsey is questionable, might play week 2. Baltimore, it's very sad. J.K. Dobbins out for the season. The whole team seemed pretty distraught about this. Marcus Williams, shoulder, out for week 2. Stanley, Linderbaum, both offensive linemen questionable, expected to miss week 2. Andrews, Humphrey, questionable. They do have a shot. Cleveland, this is huge. Tyler Conklin, put on IR, knee. Juan Thornhill is questionable. Denver, Jerry Jeudy, questionable, hammy, good chance for week 2. Detroit, Branch, cramps, left the game in week 1. Emmett Mosley, questionable. Branch, also questionable. The Packers, Christian Watson, hammy, questionable. Sort of 50-50 is what I'm kind of gathering. Aaron Jones, hammy, questionable, still in eval. Quay Walker, fresh off a touchdown, questionable, concussion protocol, chance to play. Jacksonville, Brandon Scherf, questionable, ankle. The Chargers, Eckler, questionable, ankle. Not sure about week 2. Miami, Taron Armstead, questionable, missed week 1. That's huge. Getting him back.
Oh
Whew,
God, that offense is
good
going to be
Lord. Good
horrifying.
Lord. Mini Vikings, Davenport, Darisaw, Bradbury, all questionable. The latter of the two are day-to-day for Thursday against the Eagles. The Giants, Andrew Thomas, Graham Gano, Deontay Banks, first-rounder cornerback, questionable status in the air. The Eagles, N'Kobe Dean to the IR. Damn it. James Bradbury, questionable with concussion. And then the Washington Red Hogs, Chase Young, questionable. Stinger, missed week 1.
Mm.
All right, we're going to go to week 2. Ryan, this is yours.
All right, we have our week 2 slate: Kansas City at Jacksonville in Duval. Kansas City favored by 3 as of the time of the recording. That is 9-13. Kansas City favored by 3. Travis Kelce, big impact if he comes back. Can we talk about Travis Kelce potentially dating Taylor Swift?
Yes, let me check the odds real quick. I did for a while see odds makers were putting up some numbers about Taylor Swift next boyfriend. Wow, it says AJ Donnelly up here. Sorry, Taylor. Already
TMZ
taken my
reporting
dude.
that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift have been hanging out privately, very quietly. Big news for Travis Kelce, if that's the case.
Big news. Big news.
Chris Jones coming back going to have a massive impact on that game. Jacksonville got rolling in the second half. We're going to have to see if Kansas City can keep pace with that Jaguars offense. Calvin Ridley was a revelation in week
We
1.
should have brought that up at least a smidge.
Calvin Ridley was an absolute revelation in week 1, and I'm glad to see it and hope it continues. He looked fabulous.
Okay, let me give you. I'm looking up right now. I don't know when the fuck this was. This was June 12th of this year. These are the odds per sportsbetting.legal for Taylor Swift's next boyfriend. Don't know who Dylan O'Brien is. Maybe I should. +5, 100. These are all in the hundreds. Harry Styles +6, Shawn Mendes +6, Pete Davidson, god damn it, +12, 1,200. John Mayer +15, Jimmy Garoppolo +20, The Weeknd +20, Tom Brady +20, Aaron Rodgers +30, Bradley Cooper +30, Drake +30, Jack Dorsey +30, and Matt Rife +30. I was kind of didn't know the last few there, but those were our Taylor Swift odds. Travis Kelce really coming from out of nowhere.
Love that. Good for Travis Kelce and good for the NFL, I think.
Yeah, love that. I think the Chiefs were just playing around, frankly. It's like there's like a cat playing with their dinner and they forgot to finish it before the timer went off and it got taken away from them. That's how the Chiefs lose games. Once they get back Chris Jones and Travis Kelce, it's going to be back to everyone having a humongous problem.
Yeah, there for a minute in the first half of that game on Thursday, I expected Chris Jones to be signed by the second half. But they got it done before week 2. Calvin Ridley, 8 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown. Good for him.
Only going to get better, I think.
Yeah, he's going to be a problem. All right, Baltimore at Cincinnati. Both teams' offenses in week 1 were sluggish, to say the least. Cincinnati favored by 3.5 as of the time of the recording. Do we have anything really to add? Baltimore dealing with a rash of injuries to the offensive line and J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah.
That could be a major problem.
Yeah. So if you're giving Cincinnati the 3-point cushion on the spread, then what? They're favored by 0.5.
Yeah,
over the Ravens after getting spanked.
Yeah,
by the Browns.
Basically, a pick 'em.
The Ravens are that depleted, and obviously, you mentioned the offense. This I have a ton of questions about this that I want answered. That's what this game means to me.
I do too, and we will recap this game at length ad nauseum next week. I'm sure I'm very interested. San Francisco at the Rams. We're going to be answered our question: are the Rams good? Real fast coming up at 4:05 Eastern Standard Time. San Francisco favored.
What if they are?
What if they are? I mean,
San Francisco
I'm
favored
fine
by
if
8.
they are.
Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah,
But what
San
if they
Francisco
are?
favored
Good
by a
Lord.
touchdown and a 2-point conversion. If the Rams are good, it might be worth tuning in the late window of Sunday, listening to Scott Hansen's sultry, dulcet tones. If the Rams are not good, San Francisco score 1 million points because Brandon Ayuk is also having a transcendent beginning of the season.
Yes, he is.
It's nice to have both Brandon Ayuk and Calvin Ridley on a single fantasy team.
That team looks fucking unstoppable. All right, Ryan, time to take your medicine. This is the pronunciation game. Things our old roommate Evan Carmison cannot say, we assume. Los Angeles Chargers edition roster as of 9/12/23. The first gentleman you should be familiar with. He played on USC's Alex Grinch coach defense, and he was a
the only good
revelation
player.
in spite of Alex Grinch, mostly.
In spite of Alex Grinch.
Interior defensive lineman / edge rusher from USC. What is his name?
Tuli Tuipulotu is an undersized interior defensive lineman and a delightful edge rusher.
Got him.
Yeah.
Got him. Okay, next. Cornerback, Ball State. And I know nothing about this man.
Me neither. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. Amechi John Ozadima is going to be my guess.
The third,
yes.
Amechi John emphasis. Zadenma, excuse me. So Amechi John Uzadenma. I kept thinking, and I saw it one place where the pronunciation was Uzadenma, which is generally how I would have assumed that be pronounced. But the NFL had it as Uzadenma.
Okay. All right. I'll believe the NFL.
So there's that.
Just for
next,
this stuff, not for CTE stuff.
A linebacker. Yeah, right. A linebacker out of Washington State. What is this gentleman's name?
Those Wazoo Cougars. They produced Dion Henley, linebacker.
Sorry, bud. It's Dayon Henley.
Dylon.
No. The best rapper alive, but not the best linebacker alive. Suck on this one.
Sure. John Christian, Kaimio, Meko, Fairbairn.
So, being as it that you were also the judge, what do you say?
I think I nailed it. Yeah.
Don't care. Congratulations on winning the McCorkle Award. Finally. Well, I think you won one before, but I will say finally. Ryan Brashler brings it home. I'll send one to you, or I won't. That's how we do things here. Suspense. Last week's winner, Nate Pulvote. Ryan, take us home. We've been going for far too long.
It has been a long night. Thanks for listening to the Shall We Football Podcast. Please subscribe to our responsibly sourced program on any platform and Fantasy Football by Razzball, where our humble podcast can now also be found. Subscribe to the Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel for video versions of our fine program. Follow Razzball on the artist formerly known as Twitter as well, at Razzball and at Razzball NFL. Colt's also writing fantasy articles, so check those out, along with links to our program at football.razzball.com. Lastly, follow us on Twitter at SWF_podcast. That's at SWF_podcast. Our beloved Texas Longhorns are back and they're hosting, I believe, Wyoming this year. Let's go 3-0 Longhorns. Texas is back.